Hey everyone, it's Avery, Virginia again. I am a spiritual intuitive and I'm here to help you expand your life in a way to add more meaning, joy, love, and beauty to it. Today, I'm going to answer a question someone recently asked me about how I got to where I am, how I do what I do, what was my journey, and really the specifics to kind of help other people get themselves there. And so, you know, I had to really think about this question, and instead of answering them directly, I decided to make it in this form in case it would help some other people. And I really want to start with the fact that I had no idea where I wanted to go when I kind of started this journey in hindsight, right? And so many people are asking kind of how I get to do the work that I do, but the work really unfolded within me. I didn't even know this was an option when my journey started. And so I found my path through feeling really uncomfortable in the world as it was, feeling really out of alignment, out of attunement with the life I was living, working in a healthcare setting, in an educational outreach role, a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, salaried position out of college. I was very fortunate to have those things and to have, earned those things through college and an internship and whatnot. But I really felt like I had been waiting for this time in my life when I'd have freedom and independence, and you're really an adult now, you're not in college anymore, and it was the opposite, as most of you know. And so I was in this stage of doing it, motivating, and then I'm starting to look for things to do outside of that to get me out of it. So I'm like, maybe I'll go to graduate school because I'm thinking, man, being in school was better than this. But I would still probably have to work in that. But I was just looking for all these other options, and I realized it was just that I wanted to enjoy life more. And this is not me telling anyone to quit their job, it's just my journey. And so this discomfort really led me to that. And so I took the leap, I saved some money and left, and had no plans. That was the first big thing, was to leave openness. And it's not that I left for nothing, it was that I left for spaciousness. And that's one of the main things in following your journey, is to always be going towards something. And now, oftentimes people think that having nothing to do is not going towards something, but I was going towards time, spaciousness, and exploration. I did choose to go to a yoga training. I was doing yoga at the time. I wasn't really wanting to be a teacher, but I wanted to do something that would really bring me to the present moment, that would challenge me and would get me out of my head and get me out of my known world. So I went to an immersion in Colorado, and I was, again, really glad that I had saved money over time and lived sort of minimally at that time. And I also cut back all of my spending. And I moved in with roommates. I had to add my own apartment because, again, I was a full-time salaried employee. Nothing great, but I had resources for an individual adult. And I knew that if I wanted to have time, I wasn't suddenly going to be rich at that moment in time. I didn't have a trust fund or anything coming. And so I just saved a little bit of money and I got some roommates. One of the things I was really into at the time was homesteading and farming. And so I'd go to the farmer's market a lot and I'd ask people about that. And it turned out there were people who lived on homesteads and farms where I lived. So I got a room on a little homestead and farm. So this was like, wow, this is lining up already, right? I'm going to be a homesteader. That's what I want to do. And so I followed that. I left the job. I went to the yoga training right after moving to the homestead, and so 30 days in the mountains. And it really did reset me. It was challenging. I learned a lot about myself, and I started meditating. And but I knew then, I was like, this isn't it, right? I'm seeking something, and it's not quite here. But the journey had begun. And so it started by recognizing my discomfort, but also following my impulse towards something and seeing what unfolded. And I was offered other positions really similar to what I'd been doing, and then it could be part-time, and I had to push all that out because I was trying to go towards something different and exploration. And it took me a while. It wasn't one day I decided this, right? It was probably a process of 6 months. I was doing a book called The Artist Way and really getting to know kind of my inner desires. So I came back from that training and I moved to this farm, And I lived pretty simply. And I said to myself, when I get to this amount of money in my bank account, which was, very little at the time, but more than many people. So I had 2,000 left in my savings. I would start to look for a job. And right when I got there, I received a call from my family, and my dad ran a martial arts school, and he was looking for an extra teacher just part-time for after-school programs. And so that popped into my lap, and I started doing that, and that paid my minimal bills. I stayed minimal. I stayed with my roommates, ate a lot of food on the farm, work traded for the food, really shifted that. I got more into spirituality, so I did a meditational Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent retreat, and I kept going to all these meditation-based things, was teaching yoga, teaching kids programs, via martial arts, combining with yoga. I had what felt like more than enough money for me at the time because my life was so minimal. One of the main things is if you want to make a big leap and you're not sure how to do it financially, cut the overhead in all the ways that you can. And that brought me a lot of freedom. And so I worked part-time, kept my minimal overhead, lived, without some of the things I had come accustomed to already, having my own apartment and whatnot, and, saving money versus just sort of getting by. But I would invest that money back in myself, right? I kept investing in myself and my own spiritual growth and expansion. Eventually, I came to people talking about intuition and shamanism as a practice for one's own spiritual journey, through a woman named Asia Suler. And I took this online class on it, and it really started to open my world. What I was looking for was a way to connect with reality and to feel that I had this mystical, magical power within me. And I didn't know that's what I was looking for until it showed up, but I was just never quite hitting it with some of the other spiritual practices. And when I found the more intuitive, earth-based and sort of mystical side of things, I really started to light up. And this is when my own intuition came online, right? And this is where sort of what I've developed from. Now, I didn't follow those to a T. They were the door opening for me. After that, I got to have some experiences with plant medicine, some psilocybin plant medicine that also really opened up my energy. Now, this is not me giving a prescription of how to follow your journey. I'm going to talk about that after, how to find your own path. This is me telling you the specifics of mine in case it resonates and for you just to understand my story. And plant medicine really cleared a way for me that I wasn't aware of, but it was definitely a powerful and quick-moving path, and something that I needed to integrate and settle and ground from a while, but also allows me to support people on those journeys as well, and support people who've been on those journeys who want to understand what that more mystical experience might mean. And so as I kept doing these things, I also had a lot of anxiety and things coming up. So as I dove deeper, there was a lot of things surfacing and layering. Now, some of that was me not knowing that I could set that aside and thinking I needed to dive into everything that was coming up. So there's a little bit of here's my wounds, I'm going to fix it. Here's my wounds, I'm going to fix it. And over time, I also started to get into the work of Abraham Hicks and Joe Dispenza, which is what I'm really still about now. Still about all of the things. But that helped me to sort of refocus, to sort of clean up my energy and not have to go into every single thing, to direct and hone my focus and to soften and soothe anything that comes up, but then to come back to my center, to my present, and to get out of my more triggered self, which was pretty dominant as my intuition was opening up for a while, which can be very common when some of your intuitive gifts are surfacing, is to feel very unstable and very sensitive. It doesn't have to be that way, but it can, because we don't always have the familiarity of it and a guide in that to help us navigate and to help us understand what's normal and not to worry about, and the things we can let go of and the things we need to work on. So I started to do that, and around that time I also decided one day, I was just sitting in a coffee shop and I was like, I really want to do more intuitive readings. I like doing tarot for friends, so I'm gonna reach out to my friends and ask them if I can practice on them, volunteer, but free. And so I did that, and it went really well, and everyone was really excited. So I was like, okay, well, I want to do them without the cards, right? And did the same thing for different friends, and it just got deeper and deeper. And then as I was practicing, I would notice myself getting deeper levels of skill sets, right? So then all of a sudden there's mediumship ability, all of a sudden there is the ability to read someone's energy body if needed, and helping people understand their dreams, and all of these things that I was interested in for myself, I was able to suddenly provide for other people. It unfolded over time. And then I had to come to the place of putting myself out there in the world and allowing myself to be open to sharing and expressing that. And honestly, that came from word of mouth and just mentioning it at the beginning, and eventually a website, and eventually really getting more formal about it. But for the most part, it's still word of mouth, because that's how I function. And now I'm sharing more online, sharing more here, and that's expanding that reach and that connection. But as far as working goes, that is how my journey unfolded in the shorthand, right? There's a lot of details missing there, but that's sort of the overall gist. Now, how do you find your path? Often people, especially in the coaching world and in the self-help world, will have their own journey unfold, and then they'll give everybody the specifics of how they did it so they can do the same thing. But that does not really work on the intuitive path. Your journey exists within you. It exists within you like a guidepost, like every seed has the contents of the tree it will become. And the reason that it isn't unfolding now has a lot more to do with you not looking to that seed and opening it up. You not looking at where it's trying to naturally grow. You not necessarily making the room for it, but following the expectations of your mind and of the world around you and of the path that is already known. So if you're someone who's wanting to open up to a new life path, to a new way of being, to a new career, it's not so much what are the specific steps I need to do. It is how do I get to the place that is unfolding within me that guides me where I want to go. And that involves getting very present, which is why so much of my journey was meditation or deep inner work in expanded states, because those got the known world out of the way. So anything that brings you very present, anything that brings you into a sense of joy and possibility, anything that lights you up in a way that doesn't fit inside of your normal mundane life is going to be a step towards that journey. And the next is listening to the subtle impulses or not so subtle impulses that you have towards something you're curious about, towards something you want to do, something you desire to do, and following them with trust and surrender. There are many things I did on my path that made no sense at the time, and they didn't necessarily even pan out in that short amount of time. They sometimes were just this random thing I did that I felt really called to do, but I allowed it. I let it happen. And that allowed me to trust in the flow, because not every day is about the big life shift. So my intuition is often just leading me to an interesting, fun day, or whatever my intention may be. It's not always leading me to the major life moments, but sometimes it is. For example, I took this online class on how to be a spiritual entrepreneur and how to put myself out there, and I was advised to list all the places I could do tarot reading pop-ups and then go to them and let them know I was doing them. And I got sick a day after that. I really don't want to do that. So I was very tired, and then I started to feel a little better, and I decided I just wanted to go out to eat with my friend instead of doing that at my favorite place in Austin. And we went there and had a fun time, and she's like, do you want to go to this little shop with me? And I was like, okay. And we're having a good day, and we went to this little shop, and this woman says, I am supposed to have a tarot reading tomorrow, and I do not have a tarot reader, and I'm not telling her I'm a tarot reader, actually, at this time. She's just like, this woman was terrible, and I need to do something about it, just talking to us, the woman who owns the shop. And I'm just sitting there, that's fascinating, and my friend, ever supportive friends are always a good thing to have. It's like, Avery reads tarot. She would love to help you. She would love to help you. And I'm just like, well, I don't read, what are you saying? I don't read tarot, even though I do and was trying to do that. And so there it was. That was my first event. I was there the next day, went and bought the table, did everything that I was supposed to have already done, but the universe was like, she doesn't want to make a list, and she doesn't want to do this long path. She wants an opening right now. And so the opening happened, and then people saw it and they asked me about it, and then friends who were going to other events asked me if I wanted to do that. Now, that's not the main way that I work now, but it did get me out there and it got me a lot of practice, and I still do them on occasions. Other times have just been a matter of Googling. I was just like, I need new work and I need something else, and I didn't know that there were online platforms. Should have known, should have thought about it for also doing intuitive reading. So I would do that for a while my own business, the way that it is now, would pick up. But more than anything, it was about the places I was inspired to be, the people I was inspired to connect with, through social means or random means, not necessarily intentional networking, who I really felt called to sometimes giving readings to, and like, I just want to give this to you. And those people referred people, or who just came to me and that referral. So I speak to this to say the path is in you and becoming through you all the time. You can just let go of needing to know the whole journey. If you want to operate a more intuitive and more magical life, you're gonna have to let intuition and magic take over, and you're not gonna get to see the outcome. Despite that, you may have some major guideposts that you can't see intuitively because you're manifesting them, you're creating them. So get specific about what you want to experience on some level, right? But not so specific that you don't open up to more possibility than you might currently be able to imagine. As I said when I started this journey, who I am now was not an option. It didn't exist in my mindset. It was already deeply within me, but not something I would have written on paper. But I bet if you'd asked me to describe how I wanted to live and some of the components that I wanted, they'd all be met now, and more so. So I want to do a practice today to help you open up to your fullest journey. So it's just a short meditation. So go ahead, close your eyes, put your hands on your knees, take a deep breath in, and let it go. Deep breath in, let it go. Deep breath in, let it go. Good, and let your natural breath take over. I want you to imagine that in the center of your chest, the energetic heart space, there is a seed. This seed is rooted deep in the center of the chest. And this is the seed of your authentic self. And in many ways, it's already growing, but this is a seed of who you want to become from here. You should imagine it there. It has all the contents and wisdom that you need to open yourself up to life. So I want you to imagine that with your awareness of this seed, you are watering it. By asking, what does my heart desire to do? What brings me joy and light today? How can I look at the world with more love and ease? And open that heart space. You're watering that seed and giving it sunshine, giving it nutrients. And it will sprout. And it will take root. And it will grow. And the more you give it time and energy, like sunlight, water, and nutrients, the more strength it will have. It will not waver in a storm after some time. But for now, it is a tiny seed. And maybe a tiny sprout, and it needs to be delicately protected from the criticisms of others. Focus on the seed and honor that you're going to protect your dreams, your desires from the eyes and the words and the perspectives of people who don't understand or who don't know how to support you in that, and maybe aim to keep you where you are for their own comfort. Hold it delicately and nurture it in all your spacious, quiet time, and share it only with those who you know are looking at their own inner seed, their own growing tree. Their authentic self sprouting and taking deep root within them. shaking off the shell of who they made themselves to be, to fit, to conform. Knowing that that will have honored their journey in some deep way, but they can let it fall into the earth and nourish them by breaking down. Deep breath into the center of the heart and let it go. And watch as it grows and ask for any insight and guidance that you can act on in this time, in this day. Ask for clarity on how you will feel when insight and guidance is coming in. Soften the chest and shoulders a little more and open up the heart. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Deep breath in. Let it go. One more deep breath in. Let it go. And make a commitment to honor the growth within. We're not here to fix and solve everything that's wrong with us. We're here to nurture our authentic self, the seed, the sacred chord that is truly our essence that we wish to play, and to allow it to take over us, to surrender to our highest self, our inner being, our source energy that is within us, operating as our unique self in this life. And the more we become that, the freer and fuller we will feel no matter what we are doing. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. And open your eyes. Hopefully that was just a little taste that helped you to open up and understand this concept that within you is a path, and you need only give your nurturing attention and trust in it and follow it with the commands and actions it gives you. If you need support in this, if you need to be reflected in this, if you need a clearer reading and some clarity, readings, guides, and mentorships that with me or someone else you trust that's an intuitive are always very helpful. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Share this if this impacted you and you know someone that could use this information, and please comment with your experience or your thoughts or your journey, or support somebody else in the comments along the way. And until next time.